4 years ago, married to the father of my 3 children, I fell in love with a woman. Much later, I watched that woman drive away from my home to meet with my parents and share her plan to propose to me. She thought I didn't know what was happening that Sunday morning, but I knew. When I heard her car return, I settled into the couch, opened a book, and tried to slow my pulse. She walked through the door and directly toward me, bent down, kissed my forehead. She pushed my hair aside and took a deep breath of my neck, like she always does. Then she stood up and disappeared into the bedroom. I walked to the kitchen to pour some coffee for her, and when I turned around, she was right there in front of me, down on one knee, holding a ring. Her eyes were certain and pleading, wide and laser-focused, sky blue, bottomless. I couldn't wait, she said. I just could not wait another minute. Later in bed, I laid my head on her chest while we talked about her morning. She'd told my parents, I love your daughter and grandchildren like I've never loved before. I've spent my entire life searching and preparing myself for them. I promise you that I will love and protect them forever. My mother's lip quivered with fear and courage as she said, Abby, I have not seen my daughter this alive since she was 10 years old. Much else was said that morning, but that first response from my mother jumped out at me like a sentence in a novel begging to be underlined. I have not seen my daughter this alive since she was 10 years old. My mother watched the spark in my eyes fade during my 10th year on Earth. Now, 30 years later, she was witnessing the return of that spark. In the past few months, my entire posture had changed. I looked regal to her and a little scary. After that day, I began to ask myself, where did my spark go at 10? How had I lost myself? I've done my research and learned this. 10 is when we learn how to be good girls and real boys. 10 is when children begin to hide who they are in order to become what the world expects them to be. Right around 10 is when we begin to internalize our formal taming. 10 is when the world sat me down, told me to be quiet, and pointed toward my cages. These are the feelings you may express. This is the version of womanhood you will mimic. This is the body you must strive for. These are the things you will believe. These are the people you may love. Those are the people you will fear. This is the kind of life you will want. Make yourself fit. You'll be uncomfortable at first, but don't worry. Eventually, you'll forget you're caged. Soon, this will just feel like life. I wanted to be a good girl, so I tried to control myself. I chose a personality, a body, a faith, and a sexuality so tiny I had to hold my breath to fit myself inside. Then, I promptly became very sick. When I became a good girl, I also became a bulimic. None of us can hold our breath all the time. Bulimia was where I exhaled. It was where I refused to comply, indulged my hunger, and expressed my fury. I became animalistic during my daily binges. Then I'd drape myself over the toilet and purge, because a good girl must stay very small to fit inside her cages. She must leave no outward evidence of her hunger. Good girls aren't hungry, furious, or wild. All of the things that make a woman human are a good girl's dirty secret. Back then, I suspected that my bulimia meant that I was crazy. In high school, I did a stint in a mental hospital, and my suspicion was confirmed. I understand myself differently now. I was just a caged girl, made for wide-open skies. I wasn't crazy. I was a goddamn cheetah.